1951, Horseless Carriage Club in Southern California was a popular club for people that are automobile enthusiasts of, say, the brass era cars. Let's say cars that had brass headlights, say 1900 to maybe 1920, that period of time. Also, there were people who loved fire engines. One guy had a fire engine, it was Ward Kimball, and I would see this from time to time. By 1953, I knew him very well because I had an office not too far from his house. So I'd go down to his house. Of course, he had a railroad in the backyard. He had a Maxwell, little two-cylinder Maxwell Fire Chief's car, and he had the 1916 American LaFrance. So I got a call one day to come down and drive the car in Temple City with a parade, and on the back of this, we would hook up a horse-drawn pumper and put about 20 kids on it. It has two-wheel brakes, and I'm going down a hill. You know how much pressure it takes to slow this car going down a hill? You have to use all your weight up against the steering wheel and push as hard as you can to even get it to go slow. Dan Post, the guy that I work with, publisher, and Dan were very good, and Dan and Ward were very, very good friends, and they teased each other all the time. Ward phones up Dan and says, "You got anybody you know that can drive a 1916 American LaFrance?" He says, "Yeah, I got just a guy, I'll send him down." Dan looks at me and he says, "Ward just called. He wants you to drive the fire engine this afternoon. Go on down there, he'll show you how to drive it." So Ward's expecting a professional driver. Dan is teasing him, going to send Bob down there. We'll see how this is going to work. But I was a car enthusiast. I paid attention. I kind of knew about this car. I did not know the shift pattern, because some shift patterns are an H and some are a reverse H, and you never know where it is. And this is what's called a sliding shaft. In other words, that lever does not tilt, it slides. And when this car is in good condition, everything is very, very smooth the way it works. The problem is I did not know which is first gear, and I had to guess at it. I also was not sure about the start sequence for it. So he says, "Okay, Bob, the radiator's leaking, let's take it down to the gas station." He says, "You jump in, you start it, and I'll just stand here on the running board." Luckily, I figured out what is the start sequence. See, it has a big, heavy cone clutch, a very jumpy type of clutch. And I did get first gear. If I had first, then I know where the rest of the gears are. The car was it's a very smooth car to drive. You know, it's a great big heavy car. And then we hooked up a pumper, you know, like just something about like that on the back with all these kids. So it was a very heavy setup. In short order, I found out the way the transmission, the clutch worked very, very nice. If you feel the gears, see, this is a sliding gear rather than synchro mesh. You can actually shift gears without the clutch, because you can, like, you move the lever and you can feel the two teeth. You just start to rub and they go bump, 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 and then they're in sync, and then they'll go in just like that. So you kind of feel this little rattle and it just goes in like that. So most of the afternoon I drove this without the clutch. And I just thought, oh man, I really know what I'm doing here to drive a car like this doing clutchless shifting, you know, which is, a lot of people pride themselves on doing that, but a lot of people is bad enough just try to use a clutch car. So it was probably about an hour's worth of driving, and then bring it all the way back up the hill. Car had a lot of torque, you know, coming up the hill very easy, but the braking, next day, I was in such pain, just using all this extra muscles. And of course, I don't remember too much about the ride, but see, it's got solid tires, which, you know, obviously were very practical, but the car is heavy enough that it just sort of goes down the pavement without much discomfort at all. Steering ratio is quite a long steering ratio, so now you do a lot of cranking around. And we came to one intersection which was pretty wide, and I thought, I'm going to show off. So I said, I'm going to make a U-turn in this hole, and with a turn circle. And I got that thing cranked around with that, of all the kids, and I did a great big donut in downtown Temple City, and then we went back up. So by the time I got back up to to Ward's house. We put it away. Ward never said a word. He was driving his Maxwell. Then just before he passed away, somewhere around 2001, we were over at WDI in the library there, and I said, Ward, I got a confession to make. And I told him this little story. I said, well, you remember when you called Dan? Yeah, he sent me down there. Yeah. Well, he told me you were going to teach me how to drive it. He looked at me. Well, how'd you figure that out? It was like the two of us looked at one another, because by now we're old geezers. It's like, well, how did you do that? You know, because he knew that you got to know how. But one of those things, I just, knock on wood, I just happened to get the right thing figured out. So that was the story of this car. And that's 1953. That's a long time ago. And never thinking I would come here and actually see the car again. Look at that. I had a good time with this car.
Like a kid again!
Fantastic.
Perfect.
Thank you.